Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry again, I'll go again. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 46, overall 321 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Live with CDP Sports Talk is also Live with CDP Sports Talk is also on weeknights at 8 p.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. And I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, October 5th. 2023. We're only a couple days away from the Canadian Thanksgiving here on Monday, October 9th. For my U.S. Viewers, ours is about 6 weeks before the American Thanksgiving, which is usually the end of November as well. But I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is her first appearance on Live CDP Sports Talk. Her name is Victoria Makanjuola. I hope I pronounced that right. I really hope I didn't butcher it. She is a podcast host of her own show called the FeelingZ podcast. She's also a mental health advocate and also the CEO, as told by Victoria. And she's out of the Dallas, Texas area. And I look forward to speaking to my guest. And I'm going to bring Victoria on right now.
Hi,
Good
Chris.
afternoon, Victoria. How you doing?
Hi, Chris. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I love your intro. It's so professional. Thank you.
I hope I had your last name right. I've been practicing.
You did a good job. Okay. It's Makanjuola.
Okay. Makanjuola. Okay. I will keep working on that. I try to pride myself in getting my guest names right.
Thank you. So do I.
You're welcome. Because I've been on a few shows where the podcast hosts couldn't care less. They just called me Chris Pompey and they didn't really care. And I'm like, you have to try to be professional. And I try to get people's names right.
You do. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
So how are things your part of the world, just in the Dallas, Texas area?
So yeah, here in Dallas is hot, but it is a fall season. So I'm actually in Plano, Texas, which is like maybe 30 minutes outside of the Dallas metro area. So like kind of in the suburbs. But things are going good. I live here with my family. So shout out to my mom, my dad, and my sister. But yeah, it's cool. And Plano is the city of excellence, by the way. Fun fact. If you guys don't know, that's what it is. Yeah. Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah. Okay, you're back. Yeah.
Okay.
How population big is it, and how far is it from Arlington, Texas, where the Raiders play?
Yeah. So Arlington. Fun fact. I was born in Arlington. So Arlington is where the base of the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium is out there. So I would say Arlington would be a good close to an hour drive from Plano, maybe 30, 45 minutes, if I have that right. But yeah, I was born out there and raised in like Frisco, and Frisco is where like the Dallas Cowboys training camp is at. So a lot of things are pretty like close by sports wise. Like this is Cowboys territory out here.
Well, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so don't boo me.
Okay. I'm not a hater. So.
Okay, but you said yeah. I like to have a beer and enjoy the game, but nowadays you see people getting into fights, and then look what happened at Gillette Stadium in New England a couple weeks ago, where somebody punched somebody and they ended up hitting their head and passing away. I just think it's ridiculous. Like, we all love our teams, but just some of this just ridiculous fighting over sports.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, but that's sort of like the world that we live in nowadays, is like you're kind of scared to confront people about how you're really feeling. I think the other day, I was out with my mom and we saw this girl get out of her car and like scream at the car behind her. And it was kind of scary. I'm like, we're in Texas. Like, why are you getting out of your car and screaming? But that's how it is nowadays. So
Absolutely. I apologize for the Wi-Fi
no,
connection.
it's fine.
I don't,
It's fine. I thought it
I
was
might be
me.
on StreamYard. Yeah, I turned my phone, my TV off, and I
Yeah.
might be on StreamYard. So fingers crossed. But I've got a couple of viewer comments. Danielle Germain. I'm not sure.
Danielle. Hey,
Danielle.
Danielle.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next, I've been on his podcast as well. I believe he's out of the Nashville, Tennessee area.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ray, for watching as well. And Danielle, thank you for watching. And that's one thing I'm working on, is trying to get more viewer participation on my show. And
Yes.
the
I
other
love
night,
that.
and the other night too, Victoria, I did my
Mhm.
first phone interview. My guest couldn't come on like the way we are. So
Mhm.
he said to give them a call. I put him on
Yeah.
speakerphone and it actually worked out. So I did my first ever show through a phone and it worked out okay.
That's so cool. That's so cool, like,
Absolutely.
incorporating live commentary, I like that.
Definitely. So I'm willing to try new things all the time, and I love doing this and that. But hey, I was gonna say, have you been to AT&T Stadium and the Texas Rangers new ballpark yet?
I've passed by. I haven't gotten a chance to actually, like, go inside the stadium or anything. That is definitely on, like, my list of things to do. But I did get to go inside of the training camp. So the training camp is in Frisco, Texas at the Star,
Yeah.
and it's really nice in there. Like, you can just, like, walk in. I think they had, like, the schools, like, local high schools and their marching bands and stuff get to go there, and they do, like, local graduations out there. So it's a cool area with like restaurants, but I've only like been past, but it's an area that I'm kind of wanting to check out some more because they have a lot of great seeings and things to do out there for families.
What's the overall mood right now about the Dallas Cowboys? Obviously, they're off to a 3-1 start, and they destroyed New England last week, 38-3. But
Yeah.
overall, the fans optimistic that this team can finally have playoff success.
I'll be real with you. I'm not like too much of like a football head or like a football like stats person, but from the vibe or the energy that I'm getting out from like just being here in Dallas is that the loyalty is there from the fans. Dak Prescott is not as popular, I would say, among people. I mean, he won, I think he won the Walter Payton Award last year at the Super Bowl,
Yes.
or this year at
Yes.
the Super Bowl, and like he got booed. And I was like upset about, kind of offended. Like, why are y'all booing him? This is our quarterback. Come on. So, and I know that Zeke Elliott, I think, is a free agent. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's with the
Um,
Patriots now. Yes, he's
but
with New England.
the energy is kind of like selective loyalty. So I know I'm gonna get picked on for that, but it is kind of like a selective loyalty thing. But you already know my teams that I like. Broncos. I'm a Broncos fan.
I'm a Philadelphia Eagle fan, Detroit Tigers, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Red Wings, and for college football, the Michigan Wolverines, who should win a national championship this year. I really
Yeah.
hope. I really hope. The Ohio State we beat in the last 2 years, but now it's like we got to get that national championship. 1997 was their last one.
Yeah. Well, what about the Canadian Football League up there? How are the
The
reviews
Cana-
so far?
Canadian, oh, that league's been great for my media work. If you're starting out in media
Yeah.
through college, or like myself, I'm freelance, independent, self-taught. The CFL is a great league. The Toronto Argonauts, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have given me media opportunities, and I'm getting to write game night stories, interview players and coaches, and do everything that guys have been doing in the media industry for years. And connections are huge. And 3-down football, I love it. It's instead of 4, it's 3 downs. The field's a little bit bigger and wider, I'm really lucky here, Victoria, because I love the NFL, the Canadian Football League, and college football. And the Toronto Argonauts are celebrating their 150th anniversary. They were founded in October 4th, 1873, and they are the oldest professional sports franchise out there. And they were actually founded by a rowing club in Toronto called the Toronto Argonaut Rowing Club, which is still in existence today, 150 years later as well.
Very nice. Very nice. I know you just mentioned college football. So I'm going to USC right now, University of Southern California. Fight on.
Trojans.
Fight on, Trojans. Yeah. And they had a football game while I was on campus. I didn't get to go, but I wish I had. But they won against Stanford. So shout out to USC Athletics. Yeah.
College football is huge. And I went to a game at the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 2004. 19 years ago. I can't believe 19 years. And 110,000 people in that stadium. And to me, I think the national pastime in the States, everyone talks about baseball, but to me, it's football. Me, it's football.
It is, especially here in Texas, for sure. I know I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl next year. Like, I'm kind of manifesting a trip out there, actually. I know it's going to be in Vegas, but Usher is performing. So that's like something is like on my dream list, is to like go see Usher at the Super Bowl. So
I'm hoping to be at the Grey Cup this year, which is the CFL's championship game. The Grey Cup trophy is 110 years old, and they got Green Day playing at the Grey Cup here this year, and they have Carrie Underwood playing it as well. So I'm hoping to be able to cover that as well. So
that's great.
All right, well, we'll get into some questions, and the first one I want to ask you, and I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live stream right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. I keep calling it Twitter, but I know it's X now. So thank you all for joining.
I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll get into some questions, Victoria. My show is based out of the Toronto area in a city called Guelph, but it's an international podcast show as well. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm a podcast host, digital creator, and content creator based in the Dallas, Texas area. And I have my own podcast. It's called the Feel Your Feelings Podcast. I don't know which way I'm pointing, but it's called the Feel Your Feelings Podcast. And it is a podcast designed to bridge the gap between Generation Z and mental health. I created it in 2020, but I released it in 2021. As a capstone project for a media project, basically, while I was at the George Washington University, because I just noticed a lot of like discrepancies in what we were going through as a generation. So I live at home in Texas, right? But I could feel like a sense of isolation and like emptiness, because every generation has its own trials that they have to deal with. Like maybe like the war generation, if your grandparents grew up in like the World War generations, like dealing with that. We grew up in like the COVID-19 pandemic. So obviously that came with its own set of things that we had to overcome. So for me, I was like, how can I find a way to like talk to other people, like other young people, and like make a difference and use my voice? Because I'm just like sitting here in my room. So I was like, well, a podcast, it's a medium to like talk to people wherever they are in the world. Like you're in Canada and I'm in the United States, and like here we are having a conversation. So that's bridging the gap already. So yeah, long story short.
I started my podcast in March 2020 during the pandemic. And I'll be honest, for the 2 years that we had the pandemic here, it got me through it. And I got a taste of broadcasting by mistake a few years ago, doing some volunteer work with a basketball team, a semi-pro basketball team. And they put me on camera and they liked my work. They paid me, and then they referred me to a cable company to do camera work. And then when the pandemic struck, I said I'm going to do a podcast, and I had people snickering, laughing at me, and I just started it, and it was a lot of work. I wasn't very good at it. I couldn't get guests on it, and 4 years later, I now have a radio show, and I've had guests on from the States, Canada, the UK, Australia, and Switzerland as well.
There you go. You took a bet on yourself, and look at you now.
Mindset is huge too, by the way. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I've met, go ahead.
No, absolutely.
Mindset is because if you believe in yourself, nobody else will, and you have to bet on your two. And people think, okay, anyone can do a podcast, but it's a lot of work, as you know, Victoria. You got to
Mhm.
produce your show. I'm a solo host, and then
Mhm.
you also got to get booking guests is a full time job, and then
Mhm.
promoting your show on all these social media outlets as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. The outreach part of podcasting is something that I
I'm not sure if he froze
Oh,
up there. So I apologize.
can you hear me
I'm not
now?
sure if it's on my Wi-Fi connection. Okay, you're back.
I'm back?
Yeah, you're back. I
Awesome.
apologize.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I think
I
it's
was just
what
going
it is.
over that people think
Yeah.
podcasting is easy and stuff like that, but it's not.
It's totally not. So even though I created my podcast for like a school project, I still had to like learn the basics on my own. And so that meant like going on YouTube, going on like the internet and finding out like how to start a podcast, like what tools do I need? Like I'm kind of shy. Like, should I like kind of like microphone? How should I behave? How should I act? Like, how do I interview people? And so it's kind of been a process of just like hands-on learning and just like turning the camera on, finding a $20 microphone, right? And just starting and just talking. So I just kind of had to push myself.
Absolutely. And I started my show originally on Instagram Live,
Okay.
and it took me about 4.5 months to get guests on. And my first guest was a female ventriloquist from Los Angeles, Christine Barger. She
Okay.
came on. She came on, and then all of a sudden another guest came on, and then the word of mouth spreads too. And it's important
Yeah.
to make connections and reach out. Most of the time, when you reach out, you're gonna get your successes, but sometimes you're not always you're gonna get your rejections too. But I've been very fortunate, and it's just amazing, and it's been amazing who I've had on my show. I'm very lucky. And one thing I'm learning to do now, Victoria, when I do my
Yeah.
sport events, I bought one of those little mini microphones that you see off of Amazon, and it's used
Yeah.
on here. And now I use that for my live interviews as well. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to learn as much as I can of the media industry.
Yeah, that's great. I actually have some too. They're my sisters actually, but they're the little pop microphones that you can attach or like
Yes.
interview people with. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Absolutely. Now, the next question, you already answered it, but I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about the second part of the question. Did you have any mentor or mentors when you were in school and when you were starting your podcast show and your media work?
Absolutely. And I probably should have sent her this live link. So she'll see it later. But hi, Miss Yvonne. So at the George Washington University, Miss Yvonne O. She was one of the people that sat in on like my capstone. You have to have like 2 people that review your project before you can actually get cleared to graduate. So she was one of those people. She was like also my boss, my supervisor. I worked for her at the George Washington University when I was doing an internship for the Institute for Global Communication and like Public Diplomacy. So she was super helpful, and to this day still is. When I was in undergrad, so when I was at Sam Houston State, I had a professor. He passed away earlier this year or last year. But he was also just a general mentor for me to like keep going in my creative endeavors. He was a professor in marketing at Sam Houston. But yeah, he just told me to like keep writing, keep going, and not stop. So yeah.
That's awesome. And the education's important too. I'm kind of doing it the old school self-taught way, but if I was about 20, 25 years younger, I would go back to school. I just wish when I was your age, they had this technology. But you know what? I don't know if I would have been ready for this if I was back in my 20s, because I wasn't as self-confident and outspoken, or you know what I mean, as public speaker.
Yeah.
Because when I was in high school and college, I hated public speaking. I would avoid going in front of the classroom, and
Me
now that
too.
I'm 51, it's like no big deal anymore. I think I've evolved as a person over the years.
Mhm. Me too. Me too. It was a journey for me to find my voice as a podcaster, as a young person, as a Gen Zer. So obviously being in front of a microphone and, people, even if you can't see them, can be kind of nerve-wracking, but that's kind of what we signed up for doing this. But I have a lot of great inspirations around me. Like my uncle is a great podcast host. I look up to a lot of really great interviewers, people like, well, I don't know if I should name drop, but
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So there's people that I watch, like Oprah Winfrey, obviously. Taylor Rooks. Have you heard of Taylor Rooks? She's a sports
No,
reporter.
no, I haven't.
I think she's a sports reporter for ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. But I love their interviewing styles because they're so like conversational and calm, but yet they're still like their essence is still there. Because when you see like some reporters that are doing their job that you could tell it's kind of like a stiff board kind of, it's like where's the person? Is there like a person behind there? Like where's your personality? Like you can still see like that person's, it's still them, right? So I enjoy watching those kind of interviews too.
I'm still working on that, by the way. And when I first started here, I had a couple guys from the NBA and pro sports leagues tell me it's okay to write stuff down in points, but talk to your guests naturally, because that makes for even better conversation. Because
Right.
when I first started this, Victoria, 4 years ago, I was all scripted, everything was written out, and I still write stuff down in points. But the way we're talking now is the way I'd be talking to you at a donut shop or at a sporting event.
Yeah, and that's great. That's some of the best advice that I've gotten, even from other podcast hosts, because they'd like challenge me the most in a good way, is like to just be conversational and have a natural conversation with people and just like stay in the present.
And one of my guests, Ray, No Huddle Football News podcast, check him out, says Taylor Rooks is awesome,
She
and I will
is.
have to Google her.
She
I
is
will have to Google her today.
definitely
And he
great interview.
okay, and Ray has one more question for you too. He wanted to ask you, since you're a Denver Broncos fan, do you think Russell Wilson will be back next year for the Broncos? He's putting you on the spot
I didn't
here.
know he left. So yeah. Put me on the spot. But yeah, I hope that he will. I'm a Broncos fan, so I hope that he does come back. I've only heard good things about him as a player. So I do hope that he'll be back next year. I didn't know he left, but
no, he's still there. He wants to know if he'll play another year with Denver next year.
Yeah, for sure. I think so, yeah.
Speaking of Denver, about a year ago, I had one of their most famous players on my show, two-time Super Bowl champion tight end Byron Chamberlain. So look up Byron Chamberlain on Instagram and tell him that you're a friend of mine. And Byron Chamberlain, yeah.
Chamberlain, okay.
Yeah, he played for the Broncos in 97 and 98 with John Elway when they won back-to-back Super Bowls. And he came on my show a year ago and talked to me for over an hour. And that's somebody I would recommend reaching out to.
Okay.
Real good guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Real good guy, yeah. Hopefully he writes a book about his career too. He's got a lot of great stories and stuff as well.
For sure. For sure. I'm down.
All right, we'll get to the next question. When exactly did you decide you wanted to start up your podcast?
Yeah.
And what were some of the challenges of starting up your podcast at the beginning as well?
So when I would say in 2021 is when I officially launched it. But in 2020, I would say would be the year that I officially was like maybe thinking about it or considering like what I wanted to do. Because we had the pandemic, we had the Black Lives Matter movement. But actually more recently, last year. So last year was 2022. I was doing my podcast after I launched it, but I think really the question is like when I wanted to continue it, because sometimes we start things and then we kind of like give up on them if we don't see any traction. So when I saw that there were people taking their own lives that I look up to, like Chesley Chris, DJ Twitch, and just other things happening in the media, like Will Smith slapping somebody, I was like, this is craziness. Like people that are like, that I feel like had it all together and they're like kind of losing it. Like what's happening? That's when I was like, okay, like I have something here. Like mental health is real. We all have mental health. We all have stuff that we deal with, but like I need to create a platform for people, for young people, but also from a young person that can help like start a conversation at the least to talk about what we're dealing with.
How often do you record a show, and is it similar to mine being live streamed and then downloaded to audio?
No, it's not live streamed at all. It's actually
Okay.
it's pre-recorded. But I am wanting to get into doing a live stream in the future, like do Instagram lives, like how you did at the beginning. I think would be really cool. But I'm actually dropping an episode tomorrow on my podcast. I mean, on my YouTube channel. So I don't have a consistent schedule at the moment, but I am working towards posting or dropping episodes maybe bi-weekly because I'm in school right now, so I feel like school has taken like precedence over posting, but I do want to get better at that because I have like people that I want to interview and talk to.
How many episodes have you done so far?
Over 30 for
Wow,
sure.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I,
Congratulations.
I haven't been counting, but when I look back, I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, this is a lot. This is a lot. Good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And for
thank you.
my audience, my audience in Canada, where's the best place to follow to listen to your show, to subscribe? Are you on Spotify, Apple, and all that?
Yes, so I'm on Spotify. So Spotify is now Anchor FM is now Spotify for podcasters, but I'm on Spotify, Google Podcasts, basically everywhere. I do have a YouTube channel too that I'm trying to grow, so I'm on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. But
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
my YouTube channel is the Feel Your Feelings podcast, but the handle is at Feel Your Feels Pod.
Okay, and
Check me
hopefully,
out on YouTube, guys.
I already subscribed, by the way.
Thank you.
And it's a lot
Thank you.
of work to build up your YouTube channel. I've been doing
It
that for
is
4 years, so it's a lot of work. People think it's easy to get subscribers. It's not.
definitely not. Definitely not. And the editing process too. I actually enjoy my favorite part of podcasting or being a podcaster is the editing process. So like doing the thumbnails and stuff, I think is fun.
That's something I need a little bit of work on. So maybe I'll get you to maybe help me with that a little bit. I need to get a little bit better on the editing and stuff like that because I think you do a great job with your media work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
And
welcome.
likewise.
Now, who are some of the guests you've had on your show so far besides me?
So yes, I have an episode coming up with Chris called the Host to Host series where I interview other podcast hosts or media personalities, and I just talk to them about their journey and how they started and how people can get to where they are. So I will be dropping your episode very soon, Chris. But so far, who have I talked to? I've talked to old classmates. I've talked to musicians. I talked to TikTokers. Some of my friends as well. Danielle Germain, who left a comment, she was a guest on my podcast as well. She also works in the sports world as a sports writer for Def Pen. So shout out to Danielle Germain. But yeah, all different people from all walks of life, and it's something that I want to continue doing with my new series. So I have a new series on there called The Game Changers, and I want to talk to people that are either they can be athletes, right? Because it was inspired by like the athletic world. So I don't know if I should keep talking about it, but I would say, yeah, people for the Game Changers series, I want to talk to people that are not just athletes, but people that are just making a difference in their communities. So far, I've talked to like a Gen Z. She's a lawyer. She's only like 21.
Wow, 21.
The youngest Black female graduate of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Haley Taylor Schlitz. I've talked to another Gen Z speaker and author. So I would love to chat with on my Game Changer series specifically. I'm manifesting like Bronny Jr. to come on. Phil Kofer, he's a YouTuber and an athlete, basketball player. And just other major speakers that I need to write down. But yeah, I have a lot of people in mind.
Don't be afraid to reach out because I've reached out to athletes and media people and actors and comedians I never thought would give me the time of day, and they check out your work, and I've been very lucky. Now, do you have a most? I'm not going to put you on the spot by saying favorite, but do you have a most memorable guest and episode you've done so far on your show?
Most memorable guest. I would say, yeah. So I was doing the Misunderstood series, And that was like the first series that I started on my podcast. And I talked to a musician based in Los Angeles. His name is Asher Yellow, and his dad is David Oyelowo. And oh, thank you for subscribing. His dad is David Oyelowo, the actor who played Reverend Martin Luther King in the film Selma. And I listened to his son's music, so I follow his dad on Instagram. So I reached out, like you said, like not being afraid to reach out. I just took my chance, and I was like, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? Like, I listened to your music, and you have a new album out called Mr. Misunderstood. Like, would you like to come on? And he was like, yeah, of course. So that was a great conversation. It just felt very natural and organic. Because I think when you kind of get nervous speaking to people that you admire, or people that you listen to, or whose work you watch, but seeing that come together, and like just me being proud of myself, because I didn't know how to go about editing. I was like, okay, what do I do? Like, I just started video podcasting. How do I like edit this? How do I put it out? But I'm proud of myself for like going through the whole process, from outreach to production to editing to post-production to like marketing. Like, I think I did that. So yeah.
And one thing about this industry, you know this as well, Victoria, in the media industry, there's always something new to learn all the time. And a couple years ago, I didn't even know
Absolutely.
what TikTok was. A couple years ago, I wasn't even on TikTok, or even I knew of TikTok, but I wouldn't even go on it. And now I've learned to be a content creator there as well. And I've learned to do stuff that people said, "Oh no, you're too old to do," and I just like to prove people wrong.
Absolutely. And TikTok can be a great place. I think people can be scared of TikTok because of just seeing like the wild stuff that can go on there. But the TikTok that I stay on, the side of TikTok that I stay on, is like very positive, inspirational, and motivational. And I actually reached out to an author whose video I found on TikTok. He's from Arlington actually, and he was promoting his book in a Kroger store. And someone recorded him because he was sitting by himself. No one was really coming to his table to buy his book. And anyways, as soon as the TikTok video dropped, his book blew up and it became like #1 on Amazon. So I got to interview him actually, and he was so nice. He was so nice. I just shot my shot. I was like, would you like to be on my podcast? He's like,
Awesome.
yeah, of course. So that was a great conversation as well.
Awesome. And since I got you on the subject of TikTok, do you have a TikTok handle my audience can follow you at there?
Of course, yeah. So my TikTok handle is as told by Victoria _. My username is Victoria, not Vicky. So on there, my TikTok is I'm still developing my persona on TikTok. I think we all have a different type of energy that we bring to it. But yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, and just to answer a question, where did I come up with live with CDP? Well, I love doing live, and CDP are my initials. Chris David Pame.
Yeah, there you go.
Christopher David Pame, but don't call me Christopher.
There you go. There you go. So
call me Chris P.
Yeah, I like that. So for me, I got as told by Victoria randomly. Like I was a grad student at George Washington University, and I just thought of like a name. Like I had a different username at first, but then like something was like, do as told by Victoria. So like I changed my usernames, and like that's been my username since like 2019. Yeah.
My show was originally called Chris's Corner, and then it became 30 minutes live with CDP. But most of my shows are more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I got rid of the time frame. So the last 2.5 years, it's been live with CDP Sports Talk. But now I'm kind of like want to make it live with CDP Talk Show, which means I can do sports or interviews with musicians, comedians, and stuff like that as well. So I'm trying to branch out my show and make it diverse. It's not. I love sports, but I want to make this a show where I can get other people on here. I want to show radio stations and media that I'm not just a one-trick pony guy with just sports as well.
I love that because we follow each other on LinkedIn. We've been following each other there for a while. So when I first saw your profile and everything, I was like, oh, so he's like a sports radio host. I'm sure like, he only talks to athletes or people in like the sports world. So like when you reached out to me, like, hey, like I would love to have you on. And then, you coming on my show as well. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so it's not just about being an athlete or anything. Like you really do want to talk to like various people.
And I've had a psychologist on, Dr. Sierra Scott, on recently, and
Yeah.
a psychology student, Laura Shoss. So I'm trying to branch out a bit as well, and I just
great.
love the diversity of my show. One thing I wanted to ask you, I used to be part of a group called Beyond Seal. Are you involved with Beyond Seal with Lauren Brill?
Yes, shout out to Lauren Brill. So
Okay.
yes, yeah. So the Unsealed is basically a writing community where you can write open letters on her website. She started this website for people to express their thoughts with the world. She's a sports broadcaster, a
Yes.
former sports broadcaster, and she takes people's open letters and she puts them on the website, and then she hosts these live Zoom calls where you can submit like a poem for a writing contest and win cash prizes and things like that. So I've attended a few of their meetings, like writing seminars. It's basically like group journaling sessions, and it's very like therapeutic, to be honest. And I talked to a few other people that are in the group too, that have been on my podcast, like Jamie Ellifritz, and the person who's going to be on my podcast tomorrow. So it's a great group. She's so resourceful and helpful, and she brings on guest speakers to come speak to the group.
Yes, I used to be a part of the Unsealed, and I should rejoin again. I've had Lauren on my show a couple times.
Yeah,
I should probably get back. I'm just wondering if we met there or no. I just can't remember if we met there or not.
maybe. I know I saw she follows you on Instagram, so I was like, oh, okay, I see the connection.
Yes, definitely. I just got a couple more questions for you, Victoria. Are you still good for time?
Oh, absolutely. I'm down.
Okay. No problem. I'm good for time too. I literally is only 5 minutes from my house. So
Right.
yeah. But this question, tell us why good mental health is important these days, and how much did the pandemic really affect mental health, especially in the States? I know it affected it here, but in other country as well for those years.
Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why I named my podcast the Feel Your Feelings podcast is because we all have feelings, and sometimes they go unacknowledged by people, or maybe things that we try to suppress a lot of the times, and it's not healthy. And I think the healthiest way for us to be able to move forward is to like face ourselves and face our feelings. And so as we're in this last season of 2023, I think it's really important for us to reflect and find ways to come back to ourselves, like find our own centers. And I think why I guess I'm so drawn to like the athletic world, because my first love was athletics, was sports. I wanted to be a professional tennis player when I was like 8, right? And like I had Olympic dreams and all that, but I still carry like that mindset, or I guess you could call it like Mamba mentality, like Kobe Bryant used to say. And that's why I really respect athletes so much, like Serena Williams, of just being able to push through during times of like trials and tribulations. So I guess long story short is it extremely important because we're moving into a new season. Like we're going into winter, it's going to turn into spring. We all have goals, and we might need help to maybe hit those goals. So yeah, and maybe this is like a note to self as well, but like not being afraid to reach out and ask people for help, or lending out a helping hand to someone that you see is like, I think I can help her out. Like she's a new podcaster, she's a new creator. Like, let me see how I can like help her or see what she needs to move forward.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, how important are psychologists and psychiatrists nowadays too? Because like I said, with the pandemic, that really affected mental health. And one thing also, Victoria, obviously talking is important. Talking is important, but I find listening is as important, not just for our podcast or media, but listening to people. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think listening is just as important as talking as well.
Absolutely. I think you basically took the words, like being able to listen to people, and also take take criticism, take feedback from people, like constructive feedback from people, as well. And I think at least the social media that I'm seeing is super helpful in like me listening and being like, oh, I can improve on that. Like I could listen more. Like I thought I was a good listener, but I could listen more. So
one thing I've learned, and when I first started doing this show, you can ask a guest a good question. Sometimes when a guest answers your question, they can answer the question to 5 more. So to me, listening skills are huge, and that's something I'm consistently improve upon, because why ask a guest the same question when they've already answered it? And also too, when you're listening to a guest, they will tend to reach out to you more and even tell you more information about themselves and their stories than they normally would if you weren't listening as actively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it.
I'm still a work in progress, and I'm still constantly learning, and feedback is huge from my guests too. I always like to hear feedback. What I did okay, did good, what I need to improve upon, because the day you get complacent as a podcaster or a radio host or any kind of media work, it's probably the time you should get out of that career. To me, complacency means you don't care as much or want to do a good job. I try to treat every show, try to do the best show I can every time I'm on here.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to say, and we see a lot of athletes now talking about mental health. So like Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka. So it's becoming very common in the sports world. And I think when I started my podcast, it wasn't necessarily to hop on the trend of like just talking about mental health because it's trendy. It was because like it was a need that I felt like I needed to express myself to other people and have conversations with other people. But it's becoming more and more visible, which I think is hyper visible, which is a good thing.
One thing I can speak for Canada, maybe not the States, but one thing we need more of this world is more empathy. There's a lack of it nowadays.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, this question is a little different than yours, but I made a mistake. It's on the ticker instead of the front part, but it happened. What are 3 fun facts about yourself that people don't know about you, Victoria?
Ooh, okay. 3 fun facts. I'm terrible at fun facts, but I'm gonna try. I love the Barbie movie. So the Barbie movie came out this year. Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
I love the Barbie movie. It's like top 2 now on my list. And some people hate it. Some people think it's like cheesy or whatever, but I really enjoyed watching it. Like they did their thing. What else? I'm really terrible at this. So you know I'm from Texas,
Yes.
but I grew up in Colorado for 7 years.
Wow.
Like a little bit different places in Colorado. I guess that, like I'm tall, and I say that because I'm like I say I'm 5'8".
5'8".
Yeah, and well, in heels I would say I'm like 5'8", 5'9". And I recently got into like modeling, acting. That was also a childhood dream of mine, was to like be either like an actor, an actress, author, or athlete. Those were like my 3 things when I was like in school. So I recently completed like a 30-week talent program at John Casablanca's centers. And so I'm signed to an agency. So, you could see me in a commercial, possibly. But yeah.
I used to be 5'8", now I'm 5'6".
Sorry. Try not to laugh. Okay.
I think I'm still 5'6".
Okay, you can always add height to,
I try to have a sense of humor. Anyways, pardon me?
You could always like add height with shoes, Yeah.
That's all right. It's no big deal. I try to have a good sense of humor and stuff like that. If you can't laugh at yourself, then who can?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And before we wrap this up, what is your favorite
Hmm.
place to visit in Texas for sightseeing? Or somebody like myself
Oh,
who's never been to Texas, where do you recommend going
ooh.
in Texas, and some of your favorite places?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question because my family. So I was born here in Texas, and we moved to Colorado for a little bit, but now we're back here in the Dallas area. We lived in Houston, Texas, for a little bit, but I'll keep it Dallas centric because Dallas area. I would say I really enjoy like the shopping areas. So I guess like the cosmopolitan areas. Plano, Texas really has a great scene for shopping, dining. It has a small town feel within a big city of Dallas. So I would say like going to the malls. There's a great mall out here called Stonebriar Mall in Frisco, Texas. So it's amazing. Oh, also Grapevine Mills Mall in Grapevine, Texas. I love it out there in Grapevine. We used to go there a lot when I was a little kid with my cousins and everything. And they have this cafe called the Rainforest Cafe that I have not eaten at to this day. So I'm like, that's on my list is to eat at the Rainforest Cafe because it. I love it out there. There's so much to do.
I've been to 13 states, but I haven't been to Colorado yet or Texas, so I guess they're on my bucket
You
list.
got to. You got to.
I've never even been on an airplane yet.
Oh, seriously?
No, not yet. I've got a fear of flying.
Oh,
I guess I should
wow. So
I should try it once.
have you done like road trips then?
Yes, I've driven to the States. I've
Yeah.
driven to the States many times, and I've gone on bus trips, but
Yeah.
never airplane yet.
Okay, well, Texas is great for road tripping. Like it's all landlocked except for if you go down to like Galveston or Corpus Christi. Oh, food
Oh,
recommendations for Houston in November. My first thought went to
from
like, go ahead.
that's for my friend Ray. Thanks, Ray, for
Yeah,
watching and
thank
your
you.
questions.
Yeah, thank you for your question. My first thought went to Mexican food. Houston has a lot of great, like authentic Mexican food spots. Chinese food is my favorite. There's one, I don't know where, like which part of Houston. I want to say it's either on Bissonnet or Beechnut Street, but they have a really great authentic Chinese buffet, Chinese restaurant buffet. So I hope that helps.
Okay, and I apologize for the Wi-Fi issue. I believe it's on
It's okay.
StreamYard. Usually they're pretty good, but sometimes you never know with technology. But
Yeah, it's
so
okay.
okay,
You're all good.
and we'll wrap this up with this question. Victoria, what advice would you give to those who are watching or listening to our show today, or looking to pursue a career in the media in 2023 and beyond? And where can my audience follow you on social media and your website as well?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on, Chris. Keep doing your thing and keep talking to people in different fields and industries. I've really appreciated being on here. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming on as a guest. And a podcast is only as good guests.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say advice looking for people wanting to pursue a career in the media industry, that you won't necessarily find success overnight. So I started off working in the media industry. I interned at CBS News,
Awesome.
like the national one, actually. So I interned at the one in Washington, D.C. And then I got a full-time job offer at the one in New York, but I was working remotely. So this was during the pandemic. I was like interning and then working full-time after graduation. So it was a great experience for me to learn from experienced producers and journalists and other broadcast associates like myself, but it wasn't like necessarily everything that I thought it was in terms of like, oh, like I'm here now. Is this what I want to keep doing? Or maybe like diversify my interests a little bit. I felt slightly locked in. So I would say to give yourself a little bit of space. Like, although you may want to, I don't know, work for like NBC or something or ABC, you name it, like give yourself maybe a little bit of space to be like, okay, like this is a great path for me, but like could there be other paths out there that I'm also good at and find a way to like integrate those or have them intersect, you know? So I would say to keep pushing, but to also like have discernment as well.
And I would say you got to be willing to work hard and to make sacrifices. And the other word I'm looking for too is to be consistent. Whatever you're doing, work. If it's camera work, digital writing, podcasting, etc., be consistent as much as you can.
Oh, consistency is the key. Consistency is definitely the key. It helped me get more organized too. So yeah.
And Ray has left one more comment for you. Okay, thanks. Well, Ray, thank you so much. And maybe one day Ray can have you on his, or you can have him as a guest as well. Yeah, and that's the one thing I love about my show too, is I've made a lot of connections through different countries on here and new friendships. And it's not just connections. I've made a lot of new friendships, such as yourself and
absolutely,
this
yeah.
technology.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This technology, I know sometimes people get upset with it, but if you use technology the right way, it's a great tool, and it does make the world. It shrinks the world down. It really makes it smaller. It's like we're 1,500 2 miles up, and I'm having a show with you here live in person.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you so much for having me again. People can find me on social media. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on X, I'm on TikTok. My podcast, my podcast Instagram is at Feel Your Feelings Pod with a Z. I'm also on X at FYFZ Pod. And if you have any suggestions or ideas for me, or maybe collaboration requests, then they can send me an email at the FYFZpodcast at outlook.com.
And you're also on Linktree too as well.
Linktree. Yes. Yeah, I have a Linktree as well. And I think you have my portfolio down there too, which I saw. So definitely check out my portfolio if you want to work together. So thank you.
Definitely. Hey, I'd love to talk to you more, but I know you got your schooling to do, and filming football, and it's not really work when you're filming football, and I really like camera work. I'll do on-air stuff as well. But hey, Victoria, I want to say thank you so much for coming on my 321st episode. I have Live with CDP Sports Talk, and you have an open invite to come back on my show again, and looking for the next podcast show as well.
Absolutely. And I have a little keychain actually that my cousin from Canada gave me. So this is it. So yeah.
Oh, nice. The Canadian flag.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to,
So when you visit Ontario someday, let me know, and hopefully can up and get
absolutely.
I got 15,000 pictures on my phone, by the way. I'm Mr. Selfie guy.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your energy as well. Great energy.
No problem. And I'll take some pictures of my game I'm doing in Toronto tomorrow night, as well as the CN Tower. But before Ray, again, this is a great guest. Thank you so much, Victoria, for coming on. You're a great person, great guest, and I consider you a friend, Ray, as well. And yeah, check out this podcast, No Huddle Football News, as well as on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, etc. Victoria, I'm going to let you go because we got to both get going. But I want to say thank you so much for coming on here today, and a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video and audio copy of today's episode as well.
Perfect. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Bye. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks so much for watching Season 6, Episode 46 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and weeknights at 8 o'clock on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta. That was my guest today, was Victoria Makanjuola. She is a host of the FeelingZ podcast and a freelance journalist and a digital content creator out of the Dallas, Texas area. And I want to say thank you to Victoria for coming on here today. Thank you, everybody, for watching this live stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter/X as well. Before we wrap this, guys, I got to get going. The next live of CDP Sports Talk, Season 6, Episode 47, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and on WQEE 99.1 FM is going to be Sunday, October 8th at 11 a.m. Sunday, October 8th at 11 a.m. with my special guest, Brian Frank. He is the creator of the Herd Chronicles website and podcast show in Buffalo, New York. And he's also the historian of pro baseball in Buffalo, New York. So Brian's going to talk about the Buffalo Bisons, Toronto Blue Jays, who have been the farm team of the Bisons for the last decade, and the history of professional baseball in Buffalo, and War Memorial Stadium and Saline Field as well. So I'm looking forward to having Brian on my show Sunday at 11 a.m. And also the next Small Talk podcast, episode 9, with an Andy Carroll Woolery and myself is going to be on Saturday, October 7th at 3 p.m. Our guest is going to be Alan Cheyenne. He is the president of the Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest, which is one of the biggest Oktoberfests in North America on a yearly basis. So I hope you guys can tune in to episode 9, Small Talk Podcast, this Saturday at 3 p.m. with Andy and myself and our guest Alan Cheyenne as well. I want to say thank you again to Victoria for coming on today. I hope I got her last name right, Makanjuola. I'm working on pronouncing that right. And thank you to everyone watching this on live streamed again. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, or X they call it now. And also I want to say thank you to everyone watching this, listening to this on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, LinkedIn, etc. And again, thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring my show. And before we wrap this up, speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, gear up for fall Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. 2023 Silverado 1500 pickup truck, 0.99% financing for up to 60 months. Eligible Costco members can receive a $750 bonus on select trucks. More details at barrycullen.com. And also, guys, get ready to listen to Live with CDP Sports Talk tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM. And I hope you guys enjoy the Thursday night football game between the Chicago Bears 0-4 at Washington 2-2. I've got Washington winning this game 28-17. So Washington 28, Chicago 17, the final on Thursday night football. And CFL action before I wrap this up, Edmonton, Toronto, Friday night at 7 p.m. I will be there at BMO Field. Check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some possible Argo alumni interviews there as well. And Winnipeg Blue Bombers take on BC Friday night at 10 o'clock. And then Saturday, Hamilton at Saskatchewan. And then the Monday game will be Ottawa and Montreal Monday at 1 p.m. And for those here in Canada, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving Day on Monday, October 9th here in Canada. And that's about it. Before we wrap up, guys, I'm going to do a quick interview with Mitch White of the Buffalo Bisons and Toronto Blue Jays from Saline Field a couple weeks ago when I was down there. And that's about it. Again, I want to say thank you to Victoria for coming on and everybody for watching CDP Sports Talk today. And here's my interview with Mitch White, starting pitcher for the Buffalo Bisons, Toronto Blue Jays, courtesy of my Tom here from Saline Field here after the Buffalo Bisons defeated the Norfolk Tide 7-6 tonight here at Saline Field in Buffalo. And I have a special guest with me, and he is starting pitcher Mitch White from the Buffalo Bisons. Mitch, thoughts on your performance tonight against Norfolk?
Felt good. Wish I could have gone a little longer. 4 innings, not always ideal, but we were able to keep them off balance enough to get the win, so that works.
Norfolk's one of the better teams in the league this year. What makes their offense lineup so difficult to face?
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit. They really make you work. I'd say that's one of the more disciplined teams we face. Have a good feel for the zone, and if you make a mistake, they make you pay. So they're a good team.
What is your overall assessment on this team in the first half and the second half, and also your performance this year as well, Mitch?
I mean, our team has come a long way. I think we've had a lot of guys go up, and we've lost some guys, got some guys back. That's just kind of the nature of AAA baseball. And I think right now we're in strong. It feels like pitching has been really solid. We've been putting together some good ABs and winning games. So it's been fun.
What are your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays organization?
I've loved it. Everything. I mean, I've been here now for just over a year. Everyone's been great across the board. They've helped me a lot, especially through some struggles. So I think across the board, A+.
Have you had a chance to see the renovations to the Rogers Centre this year in Toronto?
Yeah, when I was up there for a couple months, it was beautiful. I mean, it's almost too nice. The gym they put in there is amazing. The facilities there are amazing. And then the stadium and all that is just, it's beautiful.
Is there a story behind your number that you wear?
No, they gave me 24 and I was like, all right, that's a good number. So I'll take it.
And just quick thoughts on John Schneider, the Blue Jays manager, and your time up in Toronto.
He's been great. I mean, he was the only one I knew. I didn't really know Charlie. I got there after, and he kind of took over the team and got him going. And obviously, he's put him in good position to be successful. So I think he's great.
All right, Mitch, I want to say congrats on a great performance tonight. 10 strikeouts in 4 innings is pretty impressive. And most importantly, the team got a win 7-6 over Norfolk, and 40-30 in the second half is pretty good. But Mitch, before I let you go, where can my audience follow you on social media if you're on there?
Just Instagram. I don't even know what it is. Mitchell White or something like that. Mitch.White, something like that.
All right. Again, I want to say thank you so much to Mitch White of the Buffalo Bisons for doing this. Continued success in your career and for the Buffalo Bisons as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
All right, guys, that was Nick White of the Buffalo Bisons and Toronto Blue Jays from a couple weeks ago at Sailing Field in Buffalo. And again, the Toronto Blue Jays were eliminated yesterday by the Minnesota Twins 2-0, and the Jays have now lost 7 postseason games going back to the 2016 ALCS. And speaking of Major League Baseball, it returns Friday. Texas at Baltimore, Minnesota at Houston, Philadelphia at Atlanta, Arizona at LA. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Victoria Makanjuola, for coming on here today. Season 6, episode 46, 321 overall. I want to wish everybody a great afternoon, great weekend, and hope you guys can tune into the Small Talk podcast Saturday at 3 p.m. and my next live with CDP Sports Talk this Sunday at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. with Brian Franks. Created the Herd Chronicle website for the Buffalo Bisons, and he's a pro baseball historian in Buffalo as well. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Have a great evening. Enjoy the Thursday football game between Chicago and Washington, and we'll talk to you guys on Saturday. Thank you again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Culture, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM. Good afternoon, everybody.